What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you a full guide on how to be a great receiver. So whether that's from tips to drills to gear that you'll need to become an elite receiver. So buckle your chin strap because we're going right into this video. The first section that we will be going over is going to be the tips. So any basic tips that you guys might not know, I'm going to be sharing right now. The first tip I'm going to be giving is about the square cut. So if you don't know what the square cut is it's essentially when you are breaking down, you have to take 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, and then break off. So first things first is I just showed you the wrong example. You don't want to ever cut with your inside foot, because what's that going to do is it's going to not allow you to, you're going to have to take another step out here anyways in order to cut this way. So to make it simple, we're just going to cut with our outside foot, inside foot, outside foot. So basic fundamentals right there. Outside foot first when you're on that square cut. Always make sure to cut with your outside foot because it'll just save you time. So the next thing that I'm going to show you guys is that you need to get low. So a lot of receivers don't do this. A simple thing that you need to do, not going to waste any time here, is shoulders over your knees and knees over your toe. Basic fundamental. Put my knee over my toe, so if I'm looking straight down, all I should see is my knee. But then if I'm also looking forward on my chest, I shouldn't be able to see anything because my knee's over here. I should just be looking in front of me, but typically your eyes should be up. So you should break down like this, eyes in front, knees, create a straight line, here to here. Basic tip right there will really help you. The next thing that you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to throw the elbow when you're making this cut. So when I'm breaking down left, right, left, and then I throw the elbow, you see how my hips naturally turn. So you can actually use this elbow to actually help you turn a lot quicker. So when I'm breaking down left, right, left, cut, and out. Instead of me having to use my legs to turn, I can just use my shoulder. Basic tip, you don't have to use it, but it does require less effort if you were to go left, right, left, and then you have to turn with your feet, and it just takes like 1 second longer. If you're already familiar with not using your elbow to rip out of the cut, is what I like to call it, to rip out of that cut, it's perfectly fine. Do as you want. This is just, once again, a tip that you can or cannot use. So our third tip for this box drill is going to be not raising your pad level up. So what I mean by that is when I'm running as a receiver right now, I'm running through the drill, and then as soon as I'm about to break, I like to go up and then plummet down like this. So I'm running in my basic stance, up, down, like that. I like to do a little spike, and that's a key indicator. So many people do this, and it's a really nice trick because me, myself, I play both wide receiver and DB. So when I see a person raise their pad level up, I almost always know that they're going to be breaking down in that fraction of a second, which allows me to get back. So what we can do is we can make sure that our pad level is low and that we drop violently from that same position. So bam. And so this is where it's going to bring us into our first drill. Our first drill is going to be a toppling start. So I'm going to act like I'm in my receiver stance right here. What I'm going to do is both feet are going to be parallel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fall forward and break down like this. So that's a super easy trick that you can use to help improve your route running, because when you're like this, your pad level isn't raised at all, and you fall forward and you violent hip into the ground, and then you can burst out. The drill we can do for the box cut is actually going to be with a partner. Now, if you don't have a partner, it's okay, but what it's going to be called is red light, green light. So, for example, I'm running on this drill, and when the partner says red light, I'm breaking down violently, and then I have to accelerate when he says green light. So, for instance, this is how it would go. Is I'm sprinting back here, and I'm sprinting, and I go red light, and I break down and go. Now, the third drill / tip that you can use while you're doing this box cut is to make sure to stay on your toes. So, there's one thing a drill that I like to do for this is because, well, first let me explain. So when you're doing your box cut, if you have flat feet on the ground, one, it's going to be a lot harder to turn out of this box cut when my feet are fully planted into the ground. You see, it's really hard for me to, even with my rip, move my feet. So as we can see, that's not going to help. It's actually going to injure your ankles, and it's going to not allow you to get your maximum speed while you're running if you have this flat feet. So a little bit of a speed tip there too. So when you're going to do this, you're going to imagine that you're driving the ball of your foot, your spike, through the dirt. You should see little hole marks when you go. So I'm going bam, 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 and driving out. I'm like stabbing the floor. So you can call this a floor stab drill or whatever. But this is really important because I see so many people run with flat feet, and that's one of the main reasons why one, they cannot get out of that break efficiently, because once again they have that flat feet, and number two, they cannot gain enough speed to get separation on that route. So that's all for our box cuts. Now we're moving on to speed cuts. First, I'm going over for the tips for speed cuts. So the main thing you want to do with a speed cut is obviously maintain your speed. As we can see, we're breaking down on our box cut and driving out, but opposed to the speed cut, we break out of it. So a drill that I like to do is the 8-10 drill. So let's say this cone is 8 yards away. So that is our first break. We go and we break here, and we take 2 more yards, and we break again off of that foot. So what that does is it helps us round the cut, and it allows us to maintain speed. So all the time, I actually made a full video on the differences between a box cut and a speed cut. You can check that out. I'm not going to get too much into it since I said this, but I will explain some basic tips and some basic drills. So what you're going to want to do is make sure to remember, plant your feet and round it. You don't want to make sure, you want to make sure it's almost like a little arc. Make sure your route is an arc and not a square, or not a vertical line. So you want to arc that, and you break and break again. Make sure it's really arced, and make sure that you accelerate off of those 2 steps. So I'm here, and I've reached my first break, and what I want to do is accelerate even faster and accelerate even faster to get out of there, because I want to gain as much speed as possible on this play. I'm trying to gain as much separation laterally on this play. So a simple drill that you can do, you will need some cones, about 5 or 6. You're going to take them and place them in a circle. So once you've created yourself a nice little circle, what you're going to do is actually just sprint around this. Make sure that you're maintaining your speed while you're sprinting through, and that making sure you have driving off of each step. So these arc sprints are really important because once again, we're trying to make that arc with our speed cut. So just by running these simple things, it will, 1, train your ankle to make sure you have that ankle stability while you're running these speed cuts, and 2, it will make sure you're gaining speed while changing direction. We've just finished up with our route running topic. If you guys have any questions or you want to learn more about that, make sure to check out that speed cut versus box cut drill difference video. It really helps. I explain it a lot more in depth. Now we are going to be covering the topic of acceleration. So as wide receivers, I think that acceleration is even more important than top speed. So acceleration is so much more important than top speed because, sure, if you can accelerate slowly but then gradually gain speed over time, you're pretty much just allowing the defender to read your moves and catch up to you. If you have explosive, fast acceleration, the defender will be in panic mode and out of phase, and that will give you a chance to work a release, a move off of him, and actually being able to gain separation and then make some sort of fake or a cut, and that will help you gain a lot more separation as opposed to you having a really slow acceleration and a good top end speed. So today I'm going to show you 2 tips and 2 drills for acceleration. So one of the most important things that you need to know about acceleration is going to be your knee drive. If your knee drive is poor, if you're running kind of like this out of the brakes, then you're not going to get anywhere. What I need you to do is right off of those blocks, you need to drive out and gain as much ground as you can by shoving the ground away. So essentially, acceleration is seeing how fast, 1, you can drive your foot into the ground, and then how fast you can pick it up in a short period of time. Now, keep in mind, this is not the same as top end speed. As top end speed, you were trying to maintain that same speed for a long distance of time. So top speed, you're trying to get really fast and then maintain that speed and go really fast for a long, like a moderately long distance of time. So what we need to do is have the most explosive knee drive at the start and kind of slow down a little bit towards the end. Obviously, we want to maintain it, but it's a lot easier to maintain something if you start off going fast and then maintain it as if you're going slow and trying to ramp up, because one, you will get tired a lot easier, and two, the defender will be able to cover it a lot easier. So once again, how fast you can plant your foot into the ground and how fast you can pick it up. Now, once again, I was talking about being on your toes. If you're not on your toes when you're accelerating out of that drill, then you're really not going to be able to go anywhere. If I'm running flat-footed like this, out of here, one, I'm not going to have good contact with the ground, not enough force in my flatness of my foot to accelerate out of there. So if I'm going here, if I have good knee drive and I'm planting my foot into the floor every time, as you can see, I'm not really going to go anywhere. Opposed to if I'm having bouncy on my toes, then if I bang, 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 I can really accelerate out of there as fast as I can. Now, the second thing is staying low. So think about, if any defenders out there, you're getting low like this, you're in your defense stance, and then you're accelerating out of there and you're maintaining that lowness through there. Because one, you'll be more aerodynamic and you'll be able to travel faster. And two, if you're standing more upright, you're not going to be able to gain as much speed because you can drive a lot faster when you're down low, opposed to if your chest is up high like this, you're not going to be able to go as fast. So those are my 2 tips. Now here are my 2 drills. So for our first drill, we won't even need cones. All you're going to need is to get down low in one, like you're going into a sprint. So get down in your little sprinter's blocks, then get up, and then remove your hands off the ground, and make sure that once again your chest is over your knees and your knees are over your toes. That stance to both start and to break down. So keep that in mind. The same stance I should be in when I'm breaking down is when I'm starting. So I should have my knees over my toes, chest over my knees. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll forward on the ball of that foot and accelerate out. So you guessed it, this is going to help with one, your acceleration and making sure you can drive out of there fast, and two, to make sure you're on your toes. Because when I'm rolling out of this start, I'm on my toes already, and I'm loading up so I can go off of my toes again. So a few things that you should look out for in this drill is that you're like losing balance. Make sure you have your core tight when you're rolling off of this start so that you can maintain a good drive out of there. If you have a weak core and you're kind of, and you mess up, this drill isn't going to help you if you're not keeping yourself aligned and straight. And the second one is going to be super easy. All you're going to do is take 2 cones and place them approximately 10 yards apart. Now that my cones are 10 yards apart, all I'm going to do is get in that same acceleration formation, knees over my toes, chest over my knees. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive out of there and have somebody else time you. So what you can do is just a little friendly competition you can do with yourself. Try to improve your acceleration and just make sure that you stay on your toes and listen to all the drills that I just said. Now I'm going to teach you how you can never drop a pass again. 2 basic things to never drop a football. Number 1 is going to be catching with your eyes. So what I mean by that is when you catch it, just stare at it. That's literally the drill and the tip right here. Catch it and stare at it. After you stared at it for about 5 seconds, tuck it in, stare at it for about 5 seconds. Now I know this sounds like probably the stupidest thing you've ever heard today, but if you can cement this into your mind while you're practicing by yourself, then I guarantee you will never drop a pass again. I've started implementing this and I've never dropped a pass in all of my 18 practices this year. So if you want to never drop a pass again, catch it, look at it, tuck it, look at it. That's literally all you need to do. Because then when you're out on the practice field, all you're going to remember is look it in and make sure you keep looking it in, and then tuck it in and make sure that it's tucked in. So that one will ensure ball security for you, which we're going to be discussing in a second. And then number 2, it will ensure that you're looking that ball all the way in, because you have to look at it for 5 seconds. So I can't be like this, and be distracted, because I'm not looking at the ball right now. So if I'm staring off here for 5 seconds, it's not going to help me at all. So yeah, pretty basic tip. Just make sure you catch it and look it in. And my second tip / drill you can do is going to be catching with not your fingertips, but the webbing of your finger. Now, if you think of a good old hippopotamus or whatever, then you know that they have them little webby things in between their fingers. So what I want you to do is imagine you're catching with the webbing of your finger. You don't want to catch with the palm of your finger. You want to catch right where your webbing would be if you had little webs, like a hippopotamus. So when I catch, I don't want to catch with my fingertips, because 1, you're going to get your fingers jammed like 20 times, and that is obviously not fun. And 2, it will be you'll have a lot more surface area to catch. If you're trying to just catch with your fingertips, it's not going to work as well, because it'll most likely slip off of there, and you'll have a lot less chance of it hitting your little fingertips than if you're catching with the whole webbing of your finger. So a drill for this is going to be catching the webbing in your finger with a ball stab. The ball stab, I'm just going to alternate dropping the ball and catching with the webbing in my finger. Now this can also help with your grip strength and your hand-eye coordination. Make sure that your eyes never leave that ball, and that you're grabbing it and squeezing it with that webbing of your finger. Another thing I forgot to mention is that when you're catching with the webbing of your fingers, you're going to be able to exert a lot more force into gripping that football than if you were catching with your fingertips. Now, if I'm trying to squeeze the ball with my fingertips right here, I can only generate so much force from my arms, because only so many muscles are linked to your little fingertips. But if I'm catching with the webbing of my finger, I can grasp it with my hands on both sides and really squeeze it with everything I got to make sure that it doesn't pop out. Next thing we're going to be talking about is ball security. Now, if you don't want to be Mr. Fumble Eye on your football team, then you might want to listen up. One super easy and simple method. All you're going to do is take the football, put your pointer finger right in that little like connect four, whatever that is. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is take your big strong biceps, and you're going to do a nice curl and squeeze. So what I'm going to do is just curl and squeeze, and then bam, you're never going to drop a pass again. Tough as a rock. Oh, and if you want to have a little drill that you can do, is that you're just going to punch the ball yourself. But if you have a partner, then they can help punch it too. But all you're going to do is take that and squeeze it, and then you're just going to punch at it yourself every way you can. Make sure that you're squeezing it the entire time. And if you're doing it correctly, the ball shouldn't come out. For our last topic, we're going to be talking about gear. So selecting the right gear for football is so important, and you won't even know. So first off, we're going with the helmet. Speedflex or Riddell F7. Those both lightweight helmets that will keep you protected. Shoulder pads, whatever you can get. Don't worry about it, spending too much money. Just make sure you don't get the lineman ones. For your gloves, you're going to make sure you want some nice, just sticky gloves. Anything Nike, Adidas, any of those. Don't buy any of those weird knockoff brands that have the cool designs on them. Get something nice and simple that's still something you like, but still something that's very reliable. And lastly, for your cleats. Now, the cleats are probably the most important thing that you can get on this list, because you see some of them goofies who rock up in the lineman cleats and they can't even run 5 miles an hour. So what you're going to want to do is get a low-cut football cleat. You get one of them high-cut football cleats, and you're trying to play receiver. Best of luck. So, low-cut football cleat, make sure it's a good traction plate on the bottom, because you're going to need to be breaking down efficiently. So anything like a Nike Edge traction plate or an Adidas traction plate would do really good. My personal recommendation is these Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pros, but honestly, anything that works for you. And lastly, the swag. No, I don't really care if the swags, the armbands, the arm sleeves. I have some of that stuff because I like it. But if you don't want it and you don't want to waste the money, then don't do it. But if you like some stuff, get some. I mean, you only played football for like 4 years in high school, so just have some fun, enjoy it, get some cool drip, get yourself a visor, get yourself some arm sleeves, get yourself some bicep bands. It doesn't really matter, but the one important thing is make sure you get something that you like, because it'll just be fun to have, and 2, it'll boost your confidence. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you gained some information from it. Now go out, get some practice in, implement these drills.